of their bench this season. Hopefully, Steph can stay healthy as well. Hopefully, so much of that weight isn't going on his shoulders that he's, you know, making bad decisions. But I don't know. I'm curious. Like you said, I was one of those people. I thought with a healthy Clay back and all these parts, it seemed like we were gonna see somewhat return of the Warriors dynasty. But again, my heart goes out to those guys. That's never good to have a season-ending injury, and especially for Clay, 2 in a row. Just heartbreak for that guy. So wish him a speedy recovery, and hopefully next year they'll be able to make another run at the title. So
Okay, do you want to talk about the Lakers? I'm getting sad.
yes. So we'll stay in California probably to talk about a team who I don't know. I don't know if this is better or not, but something
Defending champs, the team
yeah.
that I always hated as a kid. Let's talk about them.
That they got better. They for sure got better. They picked up on the offseason Alfonso McKinney, Dennis Schroeder from OKC, Marcus All from Toronto, Montrezl Harrell from the Clippers, which was a huge surprise. Even his teammates going as far basically to say, "What the hell, dude," to jump ship. And then obviously Wesley Matthews, and they were able to sign Anthony Davis to it was like a 3 or 4 year contract.
Yeah.
So with that being said, they also lost Danny Green, JaVale McGee, Dwight Howard, Avery Bradley, Rajon Rondo, J.R. Smith, and Deion Waiters. And when I saw this list, I wanted to put everyone on there because I'm pretty sure that J.R. Smith showed up to the locker room still a couple days ago, and he's like, "Hey, what happened to my locker?" He had no idea. He'd be like, "Oh," he's like, "Wait, I thought we were in the lead. I thought we were a team." And they're like, "No, dude, you're not on the team anymore."
Goodness sakes.
But
That's classic JR.
classic JR. No, they did lose a lot, but I don't see how you don't say that the Lakers got better, significantly better, which is crazy to be the defending champs and to have that happen. I would say they would have to be the heavy favorites in the West this year to take it and to go and repeat their championship. So lots of moving around. I don't know really what else to say. Is they were damn good and they got better. So
Yeah, it's going to be a tough season for Western Conference teams who added pieces in the offseason, thinking that, the Lakers are a good team, but maybe we can get them this season. They added really good pieces, and it just makes so much sense of what they did, and it's going to be really tough. Like you said, it's going to be really tough to beat them, and I think it takes basically a collapse of morale of the team just playing off for more games than they would expect for anybody to catch up to their level at this point.
yeah, they extended that gap just between almost to the point of a super team. I don't know, dude. They picked up a lot of good players, so I'm fairly confident in it. I don't have a whole lot more to say other than the purple and gold are going to probably take it again, and that makes me sad because I've hated the Lakers since I was a child. So,
And that's why we're friends.
yeah.
Okay, I'll take it from you and now. Talk about another team wearing gold, but a different shade of bluish purple, and that's the Indiana Pacers, a team who, similarly to the Warriors, I haven't really talked about teams thus far that have added a ton of pieces, but have brought really big pieces back from injury, and obviously that's talking about Victor Oladipo, who only played 19 games last season, had a ton of injuries, and then I believe didn't even come back to the bubble for the team. But having him back is obviously huge, but I think it just brings the Pacers into kind of a more well-rounded team, and specifically on defense. I think this team has always been pretty good on defense, and a team that a lot of other teams would not want to face in the playoffs and such. And we almost saw that a couple years ago when LeBron was still on the Cavs, and the Pacers took him to Game 7 with basically a B team of what the Cavs were playing with at the time. But you look at a backcourt of Malcolm Brogdon and Victor Oladipo, and that probably is the best defensive backcourt in the entire NBA, I would say. And they also have a really good front court. Somebody who stepped up a lot last season, in the absence of Victor Oladipo, probably being Domantas Sabonis, averaging 12 rebounds and nearly 18 points a game. I like him a lot. I think he's a really good player, and he's taken an extra step to kind of fill in where not Malcolm Brogdon, Miles Turner left off a little bit last year. He's somebody who used to be more of a 12 and 10 time kind of guy. Didn't have as good of a season last season, but he's only 23. I think he'll bounce back, and so you add him with Domantas Sabonis in that front court, and then you add in a player like TJ Warren, who's also really, really good, and can kind of stretch the floor out. And he averaged 19.8 points a game, led the team last season. And I just really love this Pacers team. They're not the most deep team. They did add a couple pieces in the offseason that can kind of help that depth a little bit. But where I do like them is I think their 1 through 8 is just about as good as any team in the East on aggregate. And I like a player like Doug McDermott coming off the bench too, who is shooting about 43% from 3 last season, getting you close to 10 points a game. They're just a team that I think added a couple good pieces, didn't lose too many pieces, and should be really good again. And obviously getting Victor Oladipo back will hopefully help them make a deeper push in the Eastern Conference playoffs this season.
So the question I do have for you is, I know that there's been a lot of rumors saying that Oladipo wants out. Do you think that
Yeah,
that causes any friction, any problems in Indiana?
I think that yeah, it's a good question. I probably don't know enough about it to know exactly like what Oladipo's line of thinking is. Is it a situation where he just wants to have better pieces on the roster to contribute more and hopefully make a title push, or is he pulling a James Harden and just basically saying I want what I want and who cares? I don't know. I think that if you can kind of acquiesce to his request in some regard, if you can maybe pull off something before the trade deadline to maybe strengthen even more to get like maybe another starting piece to add in that backcourt rotation that's maybe a little bit more offensive or whatever, to maybe become a little bit closer to the top of that Eastern Conference. I don't think Oladipo is going to have too much struggle staying in Indiana. I don't think it's necessarily an Indiana thing. I mean, he went to college in Indiana. He's, from what I understand, has enjoyed his time in Indiana up till now. So if I'm not wrong about that, I think that it's more of a situation of just like, hey, I don't want to waste my prime being the 5th or 6th team in the East. I want to be better than that. And if it's coming from more of a positive, constructive angle, I think the Pacers will be fine.
Yeah, kind of like a Christian McCaffrey at the Panthers, just kind of wasted talent. He doesn't want to turn into
Yep.
that. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Cool.
Totally.
No, I get that. No, that was a great response. And to build off what you were saying, or at least the mention, I guess we will now move to H Town, where I spent a few years of my life. And
Straight up.
I love Houston, but I hate the Rockets.
That's how you feel. Oh, for real.
And they are just a mess right now. Trading Westbrook for John Wall, where do we start, Dalton? I don't.
Does any of you look at this realistically and think, let's forget that John Wall has a giant contract. Let's forget that he's been injured for the past couple of years. Do you look at John Wall as an addition and think there's something to be said there about switching him from Westbrook, or do you think it's just basically off rip, not a good trade?
Yeah, I here's the thing, especially hearing more about the situation, it really seems like James Harden is kind of almost the mafia boss there. And this is the analogy I thought of, is he's that buddy who's single, and like you think, oh, he's handsome, he's got, all these things going for him. like, and you keep like setting him up with your friends, but like all of your friends keep coming back and just saying like, oh no, he's a dick. Like I don't want anything to do with him. And that like at some point you have to ask yourself, maybe my friend is the problem. Maybe it's him. But now I think Houston's in this situation. Do they just end this long-standing, friendship that they've developed and tried to force their lives around to try and help this guy out? And now like there have been rumors that like Boston wants him, but I don't know how any team wants to pick up James Harden right now with things that are coming, to fruition.
Yeah.
Like,
well, let me take your analogy. I love your analogy, but let me take it a step further. They it's almost like the friend who's been dating around, and you're getting that same feedback, right? But they're also married because the Rockets have a giant commitment to him. They have this year, next year, and 2022-23, which is a player option for $46 million, which 100% he's going to take if he's still in Houston. So like it's not like they have that many options to kind of get out of this relationship. They have to do something massive if they want to move themselves away from this essentially pariah on their team.
yeah, and again, like there have been rumors that Boston, but oh man, Boston, please don't. I don't love you guys. I don't hate you, but that just seems like a bad move. Like,
it would be so weird for them to trade away, you would think, at least one or maybe even two of their big, young, really talented pieces for James Harden.
right? Who, dude. Anyway, it's so frustrating to see. I hate it so much. I guess we should also mention some other names they picked up. We're not going to go over everyone, but they did pick up Sterling Brown and DeMarcus Cousins. They drafted Kenyon Martin Jr., who I know you mentioned made you feel a little bit old at the moment.
I remember Kenyon Martin getting drafted for the Nuggets out of Cincinnati, so I don't know what to do with my life anymore. Or it might have been the Nets. That's how long ago it was. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. We also should mention that they lost Thabo Sefolosha, right?
Thabo Sefolosha.
Oh man, I'm like 0 for 1,000.
One day we'll get there.
Yeah. So I definitely would say the Rockets got worse and they're in the trenches. I guess we'll see how things pan out if Houston is able to move James Harden and get out of that relationship. Otherwise, good luck. I don't know what else to say.
And look, just to add to the conundrum that is James Harden, for everything that happens off the court with him and even on the court of just like, it seems like he's the worst guy to play with. He also scored 44 points and had 17 assists in their first game this season. So you can almost understand to an extent why teams like Boston are interested in adding a guy like that, because the production on the court, if you can make him happy, and you have to do a lot to make him happy, but if you can make him happy, he is top 3 players in the NBA.
Yeah. It's I guess to finalize, it's like, you think that things are going well, and then you catch him at a strip club, and he says he didn't know what the rules were.
Right.
It's like,
right. Oh goodness. Okay. Let's switch gears a little bit and talk about a team that is also dealing with kind of an interesting situation roster wise, and has a link to the Houston Rockets, being that Daryl Morey is now the general manager of the Philadelphia 76ers, the team that I will be talking about next, and just their strange offseason and their just kind of, I don't know what to call their situation of not understanding what their identity is. And they went through this offseason by basically getting rid of more than half of their players. They have Al Horford, Zaire Smith, Josh Richardson, Alec Burks, Raul Neto, Kyle O'Quinn, Glenn Robinson, Justin Robinson, Ryan Broekhoff, all leaving the team, leaving with only 7 active players on the roster that were from last season. And I would argue only 3 or 4 of those are even good, being Matisse Thybulle and then obviously Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. So a lot of change, a lot of players leaving this team and a lot of additions. And I don't know if that made them any